this. Do you feel him? His Majesty?
Wake up! Deny!
But God is here!
Show yourself!
The movie begins with a girl named Rebecca sitting nervously on a chair as a priest, and some others pray for her, asking God to take away her pain and remove the darkness from her life. Her husband, Peter, stands at the door, quietly watching the scene. The story then shifts to Rebecca, driving her car, practicing deep breaths. She is clearly going through a difficult time, but the reason behind her struggles will only be revealed later. Outside a hardware store, she buys food and hands it to a beggar, bringing a smile to his face before leaving. Soon after, Rebecca returns home. She lives alone here, haunted by the loss of her son Zachary, whom she loved more than anything. The grief has pushed her into alcoholism. Her husband Peter, a pastor, doesn't stay with her and has left her to deal with her misery on her own. At home, Rebecca checks her phone but finds no reply from Peter. Tracking him, she sees he is at an Italian restaurant. Later that night, she sits drinking while watching TV, showing how bleak and empty her life has become. After drinking so much, Rebecca finds it hard to climb upstairs. On her way to her room, she stops by a family photo on the wall, a painful reminder of happier times. She enters her late son's room, sets her glass beside his photo, and sits on his bed, lost in grief. Moments later, she goes into the bathroom, swallows a handful of sleeping pills with liquor, and seems desperate to escape her painful past. Even then, she checks her phone again, only to find no message from Peter. So, she sends a text message, but just then, she hears a loud thud that makes her drop her phone in fear. She looks into the corridor and nervously checks the lobby. The sound seems to have come from a closed room.
This is Reverend Peter at Cleansing Robinson.
You're gonna think I'm crazy. I heard the sound. I think somebody's breaking into the house.
Still trembling, she pulls out a box from under her bed and retrieves a gun to defend herself against the lurking danger. She then climbs onto her bed, clutching the weapon tightly, and waits anxiously for the intruder to appear. Rebecca waits, but no one arrives, and she eventually falls asleep. At midnight, she wakes up suddenly and sees a smoky figure in the corner of her room. Frightened, she wakes from her nightmare. Soon after, she hears a noise outside her room. Nervously, she grabs her gun and steps out to investigate, only to find someone trying to get in from the other side of the door. At that moment, Peter arrives home, which gives Rebecca some relief. She hurries downstairs and tells him that strange things are happening in the house. She says that the office door slammed shut by itself, and she heard a horrible sound from his room. Peter doesn't believe her and seriously asks about how much she is drunk. Still, to calm her, he goes upstairs with her and checks the office door, but hears nothing unusual.
I don't hear anything.
But there's somebody in there.
When he enters the room, everything is perfectly in place.
Are you still taking Xanax?
Peter regrets coming
Just look
home.
at the rest of the house,
Rebecca
please.
urges him to check the house because she feels someone is hiding inside.
There's nothing down here.
Peter searches everywhere but finds no one. Rebecca appreciates him coming, but it's clear something is wrong between them. She asks about his dinner at an Italian restaurant, which makes Peter lose his temper. He angrily asks if she's still tracking his phone.
I am still your wife.
I can't do this.
You're just gonna walk away. God forbid your own wife should meet you.
I'm here, aren't I? What is wrong with you?
Peter,
Move on like you.
very religious, accuses her of turning her back on the Lord and says she's always been too weak to trust God.
Selfish!
Then he yells at her, calling her a miserable drunk. The next day, while raking outside, Rebecca sees an entity inside the house. This leaves her deeply afraid. Scared, she goes in and finds Peter's office door open. She steps inside and spots a black wing on the floor. She picks it up, studying it carefully. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. It's Sister Miriam from the church, who comes to counsel Rebecca. Miriam tells her to imagine handing over all her worries and fears to God, letting him take them away. Rebecca laughs quietly inside. Later in the kitchen, Rebecca gets a message from Peter saying he will be home tonight. She becomes overjoyed, feeling like she's on cloud 9. As night falls, Rebecca starts preparing dishes for her husband. She goes to the wardrobe and picks out her favorite dress that may make her look more beautiful. Moments later, Peter arrives home, surprising Rebecca. He compliments her beauty, making her feel special. Rebecca tells him she has cooked his favorite dish and asks him to try it. Peter finds it perfectly made. Trying to get close, Rebecca admits her love for him and insists she has stayed sober all day. But Peter coldly places divorce papers on the counter and tells her to sign them. This breaks Rebecca's heart. She pleads that she's improving, but Peter reminds her of the time she showed up drunk during his sermon and embarrassed him before the whole congregation. Keeping her composure, Rebecca says she still needs him, but Peter replies that he cannot live in this painful marriage. Rebecca storms off, declaring she won't sign the papers.
I hate myself.
I'm not leaving until you sign those papers.
That night, as heavy rain pours outside, Peter sits on the couch in silence. Suddenly, Rebecca appears with a gun pointed to her own head, threatening to end her life. Panicked, Peter begs her to stop. Just then, a violent gust of wind howls through the house, frightening them both. Peter calmly retrieves the gun from her and goes to investigate, while Rebecca cautiously follows. They search the rooms one by one until Peter pulls down the attic ladder and climbs up. Moments later, a gunshot rings out. Rebecca becomes terrified, but the very next moment, Peter descends holding a dead possum. Rebecca spots a bite mark on Peter's hand. Rebecca urges him to see a doctor, but Peter brushes it off. She bandages the wound herself to prevent any further infection. Later that night, while sitting in the dining room, Rebecca begins hallucinating. She sees Peter eating black wings for supper, leaving her shaken and terrified. Shortly afterward, Rebecca and Peter fall into a heated argument over their son's strange behavior at the camping site. Peter insists that their son Zachary was so close to God that perhaps the Lord called him home to protect him from the evils of this world. Just then, she notices someone sprinting upstairs, and Peter sees it too. Alarmed, Peter rushes upstairs holding a gun. He orders the intruder to show himself, warning that he is a priest and armed. Yet no one responds. Left with no choice, Peter cautiously approaches a door and tries to push it open, but it is locked from the other side. Suddenly, a demonic howl echoes from the room, shaking the entire house violently. Terrified, Peter and Rebecca attempt to flee, but Peter quickly changes his mind, determined to find out what caused the disturbance. Rebecca pleads with him not to return, fearing that something evil lurks inside. Nonetheless, the pastor re-enters the house, with Rebecca reluctantly following him. Peter makes his way toward his office door, only to see black smoke seeping through it. Blinded by his faith, he interprets it as a divine sign. Placing his hand on the door, he feels an otherworldly force and calls it pure energy. He urges Rebecca to join him. When she touches the door, however, her hand burns while Peter feels nothing. Peter says, "Whoever you are, we wish to know you." Nonetheless, he receives no response. He then presses his hand firmly against the door again. As he does, he seems to fall under possession, uttering chants in Aramaic. Moments later, lightning strikes the bushes outside, igniting a fire. Rebecca grabs a fire extinguisher and rushes out in desperation, only to find Peter already standing near the blaze. While she frantically puts out the flames, Peter calls it a miracle. From that moment onward, his condition begins to worsen steadily, ever since he came into contact with the mysterious door. Rebecca hears strange chanting coming from the washroom and starts having terrifying visions of her dead son, Zachary. At the same time, Peter is downstairs, chanting in Aramaic, showing that he's slowly falling under possession. When Rebecca enters the bathroom, a winged creature emerges from the bathtub. Shocked, she runs out, only to find Peter smearing blood from his injured hand on his office door. Completely horrified, Rebecca watches as Peter declares that the supreme power is all around them and begins invoking it. Suddenly, blood flows out of the room, the lights flicker, and darkness takes over. Peter believes it's God working through him, but Rebecca knows something far more sinister is in control. Later, the two visit Miriam's house, where Rebecca confides that evil forces are driving Peter insane. But Peter denies it, showing his miraculously healed palm as proof that God is with him. Miriam convinces them to stay the night for safety. That night, Rebecca has disturbing visions. She wakes up and discovers that both Peter and Miriam are missing. Searching Miriam's room, she finds a photo of Peter, Zachary, and Miriam together, which makes her uneasy. Using her phone's tracker, she locates Peter back at their own house and rushes there. When Rebecca arrives, she sees Peter and Miriam standing by the cursed, possessed door. Quietly, she heads upstairs and witnesses Peter performing a ritual, handing Miriam a cup filled with her blood.
Do you feel him? His Majesty?
Miriam, what are you doing? Miriam, look at me.
Peter restrains Rebecca, urging her to surrender to God.
How could you?
When she refuses, he angrily locks her inside a room to stop her from interfering. Terrified, Rebecca opens the window, preparing to escape. The possessed Peter strangles Rebecca, but spares her life, as if a part of his true self still remained inside him.
Come on.
Holding her at gunpoint, he forces her toward the door while Miriam, already under Satan's influence. She reveals to Rebecca that Zachary knew this was the only way, disclosing the heartbreaking truth that Rebecca's son had taken his own life. After this, Miriam slits her wrist while invoking her Dark Lord, before savagely stabbing herself to death as an act of sacrifice. As she dies, black smoke seeps into the room, and Peter begins to hail it in praise. Rebecca desperately tries to escape, but the doors are locked. In panic, she hides in the bathroom.
God is rewarding me for the blood I gave him.
From outside,
God is rewarding me for
Peter
the blood I
proclaims
gave
that
him.
God is rewarding him for the blood he has offered, revealing the horrifying truth that he sacrificed his own son, Zachary. Rebecca is shattered by this revelation. Peter eventually tricks into coming out and begins leading her to the door, telling her, "Let the Lord speak to you." He hands her a knife, urging her to offer herself to God. Instead of turning the blade on herself, Rebecca strikes the possessed Peter with it. Peter quickly overpowers her, knocking her to the floor and preventing her from reaching the gun. In a desperate attempt to fight back, Rebecca wields a cross against him. She then seizes the gun and fires, shooting Peter and knocking him down. Summoning her courage, she calls upon the demon to reveal itself. In response, the door swings open by itself, revealing a mysterious sphere of light that instantly swallows Miriam. Moments later, the demon emerges, devouring Peter's body as well. After the horrific ordeal, Rebecca enters the room, finding it in complete disarray. There, she discovers a sinister black stone and nervously picks it up. In the end, Rebecca carries the stone to a lake and casts it into the water, disposing of its evil presence.